Hurricane Sandy was a hurricane that devastated portions of the Caribbean and the mid-Atlantic and northeastern United States. Sandy developed from a tropical wave in the western Caribbean Sea. It quickly strengthened and was upgraded to Tropical Storm Sandy 6 hours later. Sandy moved slowly northward and gradually intensified. 2 days later, Sandy became a hurricane and made landfall near Kingston, Jamaica. The storm later re-emerged into the Caribbean Sea and then passed through Cuba and the Bahamas. Sandy curved northwest and then moved ashore near Atlantic City, New Jersey, as a post-tropical cyclone with hurricane-force winds. Shortly after, media outlets were calling the storm Superstorm Sandy. In the United States, Hurricane Sandy affected 24 states, including the entire eastern seaboard from Florida to Maine, and west across the Appalachian Mountains to Michigan and Wisconsin. Sandy's violent winds were felt far and wide from the Atlantic coast well into the interior northeast. As Sandy strengthened over the warm waters of the Gulf Stream, the storm's sustained winds peaked at 90 miles an hour. At landfall, winds were slightly lower 80 miles an hour, but still well within Category 1 hurricane strength. Sandy's wind field was already impressive days before it pummeled the coast. More than 24 hours prior to landfall, winds extended some 520 miles from the storm's center of circulation. As Sandy came ashore in New Jersey, several locations along the East Coast recorded hurricane-force wind gusts. In addition to damaging winds, Sandy broke multiple daily rainfall records, including new records at all 3 D.C. area airports. While Sandy's most devastating impacts were in New Jersey and New York City, the storm's heaviest rainfall occurred on its southwestern flank. Large amounts of rain fell from southeastern Virginia up through eastern Maryland. In some places, Sandy dumped more than 8 inches of rain as its winds pelted the coast. Sandy's unusual development as a tropical system merging with a winter cold front brought high elevations of heavy snowfall, which is rare for this time of year. Red House, Maryland measured an impressive 28 inches, topping the list for greatest accumulation among the 8 states that saw measurable snowfall. Unofficial observations suggest even higher amounts, including more than 28 inches in Davis, West Virginia. Charleston, West Virginia has recorded 10.1 inches of snow, enough to make this October its snowiest on record. Sandy's snow output covered an enormous area. The storm dumped more than a foot of snow in Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Sandy's greatest impact was the combination of high wind and rain that brought destructive storm surges and flooding to many coastal areas. Storm surges were enhanced by a full moon, which allowed water levels to crest several feet above normal tides. Major storm surge damage stretched from Virginia through New Jersey into Rhode Island. New York City was especially hit hard as Sandy's onshore winds drove water into Brooklyn and lower Manhattan. The New York Times reported of seawater flooding 7 subway tunnels under the East River and of submerged runways at JFK Airport. With a minimum central pressure of 940 millibars, while churning off the New Jersey coast, Sandy was one of the strongest storms to strike the northeastern United States in decades. As it made landfall just south of Atlantic City, New Jersey, Sandy had begun transitioning to a post-tropical storm. At that time, its central pressure measured 946 millibars, making it the second lowest pressure of any storm to make landfall north of North Carolina. For historical comparison, only the Long Island Express hurricane of 1938 had a lower pressure reading at landfall. From storm surges to flooding rains and destructive winds, Superstorm Sandy has left its meteorological mark as the Northeast begins to recover from its destructive force.